All right. Well, it is my absolute pleasure to welcome probably the greatest group I've had to probably interview in my entire life. I'm feeling a little inadequate with this group, but I would like to thank all of you for coming in. What a special week. To my right in immediate front here, our founders this week, Marilyn Smith and Shirley Spork. Round of applause. Round of applause. In the back here, we have a little bit of a party. You guys are just chatting it up. I think you guys are ready to go. Patty Sheehan, Pat Bradley, Kathy Whitworth, Renee Powell, Nancy Lopez, and Betsy King. Thank you all for also joining us, our pioneers and Hall of Famers this week. Thank you. So I will get started. Marilyn, let's start off with you right here in front. How about it? You've seen, here, let me grab your, there you go.
I used to be a hog collar in Kansas. Do I need you?
A hog call.
Yeah, let's play your hog collar.
That was your first year.
Do you want to hear this?
Show us how you do that.
I forgot.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh boy. Well, you've seen this event from its very infant stages. You've been here.
Are you talking to me?
Yes, talking to you.
What was the question?
I'm talking to you. I said you have seen this event from the very infant stages, from the beginning, and then you're here in the fourth year. What has most impressed you out of the past 4 years, out of this very special event?
This tournament? I think the best thing is that the girls all approved of it after the first year. Some of them didn't really understand it, and they didn't want to play in it, but now they're all for it, and it's a sensational tournament, and to have all these girls here it's special. And to honor the founders, well, we had a lot of good founders, and unfortunately Louise is not well enough to be with us, and Marlene is busy moving, so they send their best to you, and we miss them.
We do too, absolutely. Thanks.
Sure. Well, the two of us are kind of the tail end of the dog. We were very fortunate to be able to get together in the beginning, and we had a tremendous desire to compete, but we didn't have anywhere to compete. And through the efforts of friends who were financially able to put up prize money, we were able to play tournaments. And because of the babe and her talent, she really didn't have anywhere to play. And it's through her efforts, really, she wanted a tour so she could compete. So because of her, she got the ball rolling, and then we came along as her little pigeons and followed her. And in the beginning, it was somewhat difficult to convince the public, actually, that women had that great a talent in golf. They had observed amateur players, and a lot of your Hall of Famers played great amateur golf. I think Marilyn and I came out of this college system where you weren't supposed to compete as an individual in our era. In the early 50s, schools wanted intramural play. They did not want individual sports. So we were an oddity and had to fight to say that an individual sport was important.
All right. Now, I watched you speak with the documentary group that is hopefully going to put together a documentary to tell your guys' story, the 13 founders. What do you think that movie will hopefully do in terms of spreading the word of how special of a journey you guys have had?
Well, it's chronicling the history, and people 50 or 100 years from now, they'll know what happened, and that's wonderful. And they're going to they've interviewed Marlene Hagee, and they're going to interview Louise, too. I think they're going to try to get a few other people that they're going to interview.
Oscar material.
Yeah, so it's really a wonderful thing. They're doing a great job for us.
Absolutely. Now I'll just move up. Betsy, we'll move up to you. In terms of, we're getting a little, there you go. In terms of seeing the tour evolve since when you played up until now, what has most stuck out to you in terms of tournaments, players, anything that has really evolved into what the tour has turned into today?
Well,
You're good.
Hello. Yes, I feel very fortunate because when we came out, there's still where the founders were still competing a little bit. I know Patty Berg played and Louise Suggs played in several events that I played in, and so we have that connection with the founders that we actually know them, and yet the tour had already grown at that point. So obviously, what it is today is just so different. The world aspect of the LPGA is probably the biggest change, and it's even changed since I retired in 2005. So with the tour playing so many events outside the United States right now, but obviously it's the persistence that the founders had, that they never gave up, that they, even though they had to do all aspects of a tournament, from handing out the checks and setting up the golf course and making the rulings. And it really, somebody asked me during the filming of the documentary, what do you think motivated them to keep at it? And I think it was two things, probably the love of the game that they had at the time, and they really were like a family. And they cared about one another, and so they were in this together, to make it succeed. So I'm thankful that they preceded me and gave all of us that are sitting here on this second row the opportunity to play and compete at something that we love to do, and obviously we were rewarded a lot more financially than they ever were. So I just am honored and thankful to be here today.
Great. And so we'll move down to you, Nance. Okay. You were here on Wednesday for the girls' golf announcement. You got to see the 5 ambassadors being announced, as well as celebrating the 30,000th member of girls' golf, which is pretty incredible. What do you think it says to have those 5 players who are top players and very notable names to be committed to being spokeswomen to grow the game? How good of hands is the current game in terms of growing it?
Well, I think that's important for every player, not just the 5 ladies that are ambassadors, to promote the game and help the young generation care about the LPGA Tour. As I watched the trailer that they showed me about, I was crying. Of course, I'm a crybaby, but I was crying. I only cry when it means something. And I think that this story should have been told a long time ago. It's a shame that it hasn't been these ladies and the founders that were alive even before. So many times they were together, and there should have been something done at that time, because for them to do what they did for us, and we were even further down the road, I'm very grateful to them, because they did love the game. Because I stopped and thought, would I have done that if I would have been in their shoes at that time? I hope that I would have, because I love golf that much. But I think that it's important for all our players to always give back, and not be selfish, and not think it's just all about them, but to always know that there's no reason for anyone to have a golf tournament for us, really. If they really stop and think about it, all these people work so hard all year long to put on an event for them, when these ladies had to put on an event for themselves. And to be able to sign all those autographs and give back 100%, be good to our sponsors, be good to the press, and take that time, because it is their place to do that. It's their job. It's a great job. And I say job because it's really more of a fun job. I know that it was for me. But that all our players need to always do that. And I look at the players that are up here, who I totally respect, because they were great ambassadors for the LPGA Tour and what they did. And the competition and the way they were on the golf course, they were all professional. Whether they won or lost, they always acted like true women and true competitors. And I'm very proud to be a part of the LPGA.
Renee, what was your initial reaction when you got the phone call to let you know that you would be honored here this week along with the founders, but as a pioneer of the LPGA? What was your initial reaction?
Well, it was something that was very, very special. I didn't see it coming, and I am very pleased to be a part of this. I think I was very fortunate to know 11 of the 13 founders, and I first knew about the LPGA when I was 12 years old. Didn't realize that there was such a thing as the lady professional golfers. And first met Marilyn Smith back in the 1950s, before some people were probably born, but back in the late 1950s. And so to have met Marilyn then, and Shirley later on, but to have met her then and now to be sitting on stage with her, to be a part of all this, to be recognized as one of those who fell in line behind them because they were so amazing, and we owe them all such a great deal of thanks, because that's the reason we're all able to put LPGA behind our name. And, so often people think that they acquire and do things on their own, but every one of us stands on the shoulders of those who came before us, and those 13 ladies, and we're very, very fortunate to be in the presence of 2 right now. So when I received that call, I was very surprised. I was very much in awe. And, you don't think of yourself as a pioneer. You just do. And especially if you love the game of golf and if you have a passion for it, you do what you do, and you try to make everything better. And these women definitely tried to make it better, and they loved it, and we are all so much better for it. So it was indeed something that was very special, and I'm very, very happy to be here. And like to just really thank Marilyn and Shirley both for all that you have done, and also Marlene and Louise and the other ladies that are probably all looking down on us and cheering this tour on.
I know they are. All right, Kathy, we'll go to you next. I know just the other day at breakfast we were speaking about Junior Solheim Cup. You were the captain this past summer. That's right. Yeah, go USA. Let's talk about the junior and amateur ranks that you've obviously been able to see firsthand, and just the talent pool that will probably hopefully be coming up for American golf. The Americans have been fighting their way back into being up on top of the leaderboards, into the winner's circle. Where do you see the future that's hopefully going to be coming up for USA Golf?
Well, it's pretty obvious, I think, because they're just they're everywhere. But I just finished a junior tournament in Fort Worth. It's evolved into a really nice event, and Paula Kramer has come through there, Christina Kim, Brittany Lang. So we see a lot of the players coming through that event, and then to be with the Junior Solheim this last year. But it's I think it's pretty obvious the juniors golf is where our future has always been, and there's more and more programs and more opportunity for young people to play, and thanks to the LPGA. I mean, and their programs that they've started over the years and continue to, and opportunity has always been the thing, I think, for anybody, and whether it's golf or whatever it is. But if they just have that opportunity and that chance to see, that's just. And of course, this is what I've always felt that way about our founders. I was able to meet almost all of them except Babe, so I came along at a very opportune time to meet these ladies, and. But I'll be always eternally grateful to them because they are the ones that gave me the opportunity. And so for junior golf, though, gosh, and the teaching and what they're able to the access to good instruction and gosh, what they can do now. You think about when I first started, and I know with Renee, and I have to say this, when I found out Renee was going to be honored as well, that was just so great. I mean, this woman, she truly might not be a founder, but in a way she is a founder, and she just she paved the way and opened a lot of doors, and we could have been in a world of hurt, but we weren't because of Renee and Althea. And I have to say, I'm really proud that Renee is here, and we're going to be recognized together tonight. So that's a big plus. Besides, getting to see Marilyn and Shirley, and I was there not at the very beginning, but I was close. And And I remember some of those meetings we used to have, and some of these, I mean, you know, they got pretty wild. But the fun part about this, Nancy's writing a book, so it's probably going to be X-rated. I don't know. We'll have to. She said her publisher's been having a hard time. But anyway. But the fun part about being I visited a little bit about that this evening, but the fun times that we did. But whenever time we would have a meeting, I mean, and these women were the leaders, and Marilyn was president when I came on the tour, and so and she was terrific. Well, they all were terrific to me, and so it was, and of course, then, you know, to be a member, then you just filled out an application and sent in $25, and you were in. So they needed warm bodies, and I was one of them. And but they were terrific, and what I remember about the early meetings, of course, was that, you know, eventually these were very strong personalities. They had already, in their own right, had developed their own career. And so when they came together as a group, when you got 13 women that are just, you know, they're all bosses, and they've all had their own career, it was pretty exciting. And but they did it, all the decisions and everything that they made it was always for the better of the group. And so and I think that's one of the reasons it continued to be successful. And everybody was still trying to pull together and make it happen. And I was just really, I think back on those days, and I can't help but smile every time, because it just brings back great memories. And I'm just happy I came along when I did. I know it, and it's great to see where the LPGA is today, and the future looks great. Playing all over the world, and it's just you know, and you've got great leadership, I think, and so it's on its way, and so it's great fun to watch.
Great. Now, you mentioned all around the world. Pat, I'll go to you. Would you guys have ever dreamed of the dynamic of the tour, of what it is today in terms of globalization, the number of countries represented, all the different backgrounds these girls come from, and when we go overseas to see how big of rock stars they are in so many different countries, would you guys have ever dreamed of that, or thought that would be?
Well, I know when I joined the tour, my first trip overseas was back in December 1975. I went to Melbourne, Australia. I mean, I had to go to the globe and, you know, find out where exactly Melbourne, Australia was. But, yes, it is just, it's an amazing journey. And we were all part of our own little journey. And to see the game of golf become global, that's probably, you know, what it was the very least, you know, in our day. We thought global was going from, you know, Arizona to California. But it is global, and that's the great thing about this game. The parameters are not within a certain, you know, area or dynamic. It's throughout the world, and I can only imagine the reception that our players get when they travel overseas. When we used to go to Japan, we had my first Japanese player that I met and knew and played against was Chaka Higuchi. And when we would go over there, I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, she had to eat in a separate dining room because she was such a rock star. And Ayako Okamoto was the same way. So it is amazing. But I have to tell you, I started this game at 11, and I was an old lady, basically, compared to our young little girls today picking the game up. But being a professional golfer and being a part of the LPGA Tour, I have to honestly admit, it was my father's dream. My father was an avid golfer. He wasn't a great golfer. He caddied as a youngster with his brothers. But my dad knew the Marilyn Smiths, the Patty Bergs, the Shirley Sporks, the Babe Sahariuses, the Louise Suggs. He knew all those great women. And he wanted his daughter to try to aspire to walk the fairways with, these great women. So I, being a country bumpkin from Westford, Massachusetts, our season was about that long, but I went to school down in Miami. I went to a junior college, Miami-Dade North, and then I transferred to Florida International University, graduated. But the first two pros that I ever met, one was Marilyn Smith. I met her at a barbecue at my coach's home, and I think you were just playing around the corner at Burdines, Maryland. And I was a little freshman, college player, didn't know much about anything. And then Patty Berg came and spoke at a tournament dinner. And from that moment on, when I met these two great women, I said, they've made me want to aspire to follow in their footsteps. I can't be in their footsteps because you just don't do that, but follow their footsteps. And I thank them because what they did for the game of golf, my father got into it, and then my father passed it on to me, and it became my dream. And I am very, very fortunate to have had the career that I have had, and it's because of these women who really, had the blood, sweat, and tears. There was not a lot of, fanfare or balloons going off or fireworks going off when they did anything. And so I am a very lucky woman to have had the moment I have in the game. And, of course, now I'm watching my nephew do his thing and having a ball watching him.
All are. Patty, we'll head off to you. So our big, I would say, theme of the past couple of years has been momentum and growth for the LPGA. We're in a very healthy, good spot. What do you see within the next 5 years, or what do you hope to see in terms of the state of the LPGA, whether it be tournaments, purses? What do you think needs to be done or should be done in terms of making it healthier or bigger in terms of exposure?
Wow.
That's a heavy one.
Wow.
That was a heavy one.
That's a good one.
We want to pass it, yeah. If anyone has ideas, pass it on.
Sheesh, I can't even remember what that question was. I think that in the next 5 years, what I would like to see is purses going up dramatically so that we could start to see maybe getting closer to equality with the men's tour. These ladies are out there working just as hard as the guys do. They spend as much time as the guys do out there. They spend probably as much money, if not more, trying to get to where they need to get. They work very, very hard, and I just don't see that the purses are increasing anywhere near where they should be. So that's that being said. I'm just thrilled to be here. I'm thrilled that they would invite me here. I always am very in awe of the ladies that started this tour and the guts and the fortitude and the passion that they showed in making the LPGA tour happen. These are great ladies, and I just, I can't even believe that I did as well as I did in the LPGA tour, and I'm looking up to these ladies, and they showed me, wonderful ways to be. They showed me how to be a lady, and they showed me how to be gracious, and not that I was every single time, but I tried my best, and I want to thank them from the bottom of my heart, because originally when I was a little kid and I started playing golf around my house at 3, I never knew there was an LPGA tour. All I knew was that there was Olympics. And so when I was little, I thought I would be an Olympic ski racer. But as I grew older and started getting better at golf, then I paid more attention to the LPGA tour and learned about these ladies. And they truly are an inspiration to me, as well as all of these ladies here that are sitting up here. And I'm always just so in awe of the gang that I get to, be shoulder to shoulder with. So, again, thank you. And I'm going to sort of pass this mic on to... No, I don't need to do Patty Berg. No, I'm fine.
Absolutely.
I'd like to.
Floor is yours.
Do I need this? I'd like to tell a story about Althea Gibson. She was the first Black American to play on our tour, and a great golfer. She didn't start golf till she was about 40. As you know, she was a great tennis player, and I used to play some golf rounds with her, and she was quite a nice person. But there was a tournament in Texas, I won't mention the name of the city, that would not allow her to go into the clubhouse. Lenny Wirtz was our tournament director at the time, and we all decided to move the tournament to a different venue. And that's what's always been the class of the LPGA, that you remember the men had didn't they have something in there that they only Caucasians could play until 1960-something. So we're so thrilled that Althea came and played, and then Renee, I met her at the tournament. Like you say, she was following us, and I happened to say hi to her, and we became friends ever since. And she's done a remarkable job for the LPGA. She's a fantastic person. That's the story about Althea.
Well, I'd like to comment that as an officer, as being president, and I think Kathy being president of the LPGA, you two had to do all the financial decisions. You had to gain press approval. And when we would travel, we had to wine and dine the press. But we didn't have much money to wine and dine the press. And we'd have a press meeting, and hopefully one or two showed up. And as we gathered a little more money, we could have a little more gifts to give out, so we became more known. Marilyn and I used to go to radio stations and go to circuses. We've gone to baseball, boxing matches.
Can I tell a story about the boxing match? It's in my book. Buy my book and you'll read it.
You see, these are the great stories that we were able to hear in the locker rooms, and we're so glad that they're still here to share them with all of you and to share them with the younger players.
I don't have to tell the story.
Yeah, you go for it. You go for it. I just wanted to throw that in there because I don't, just because. Hi, honey. I didn't need a mic for that.
What story? I've lost my memory. What was I telling you about? Boxing. Oh, yeah. Well, when Babe Zaharias passed away, unfortunately, in 1956, public relations became very important to keep our tour together. So I would hit golf balls in major league ballparks like St. Louis, Cincinnati, and Washington, D.C., and hit the ball from home plate out to center field, and then get on the mic and ask the people to come out and watch us play. Well, Shirley and I were going to a boxing match in Landover, Maryland, and this one fellow was just pulverizing the other fellow. It was just awful. Well, I got squeezy, and I couldn't go on the rope, and she'd have paid me $1 million, but Shirley didn't. She got right up there, crossed through the rope, got the microphone, and talked about our tour. You better come out and see us play, and we had to do that. We did that all around the country, and we didn't go to boxing matches, thank goodness. But we did a lot of public relations that work to try to get people aware of the golf, how well the girls played.
Because you wanted to promote our group, we all contributed. And I mean, we didn't have cell phones. So at the end of the tournament on Sunday, we were getting ready to travel to the next stop. We'd have to stop at a payphone and call APUP and the Golf World and give them the results of the tournament. So we did everything.
The treasurer gave out the checks at the end.
Someone had to keep the mail in a little box, and if you didn't play that week, we took the box to the next tournament and then got your mail. So it was like a little circus, going down the road.
Any questions from you guys in the media? Any other questions from you guys? Put our microphone.
I'd like to comment that We're very honored to have Kathy Whitworth win 88 golf tournaments. And no other human being has done that.
Not yet.
Not yet.
They never will either.
They never will.
You're going to hold that record.
And everybody up here, as a teacher, I learned a lot watching their golf swings. Whether I liked it or I didn't like it, I learned something from it, because there's lots of ways to swing the club, and they all did it their way. Today it looks kind of like they all do the same thing. I don't know. So maybe it's just the pot screwed around and swizzled around and squirted out, and everybody's perfect now.
They all finished left of the target.
That's great. All right. Well, I would love to thank all of you for coming in. Have a great rest of the week, and we're all honored to have you here as well. Thank you, guys.